it's Dave and Evelyn from the camera store, and today we're giving you our first look at the Panasonic S9.
This is a really interesting offering from Panasonic. I mean, this is the most stripped down S version of the camera they've ever produced that's still full frame.
Yeah, this is very sleek and kind of a different offering in terms of what we've seen from Panasonic the last few years. So we're going to give you our first impressions, talk about some of the new tech and changes that we're seeing in this new S9 camera. First of all, let's get into the design of this camera. Right away, we can see that this is an incredibly sleek design. As Dave and I were saying, it is kind of the most pared down, compact S-series camera that we've seen from Panasonic. Now it is a full frame camera, of course. So you have the L-mount design that takes L-mount lenses. Lots of variety there with the L-mount Alliance. We're seeing lots from Sigma, and we're noticing some very key things that might give us some direction of what Panasonic was kind of going for with this camera. First of all, we have a fully articulating screen. It is nice and bright, but no electronic viewfinder at all. There's not even an option to add one. We're also seeing that it has very minimal control dials. So you have one on the top of the camera surrounding the shutter. There's one on the back that's surrounding the D-pad, but it is a very simple design. Now in the menu, it is a touch screen menu. So you're able to go in there, you can do your tapping for autofocus, and it is very responsive. I like that about this camera, and Panasonic always does a good job with their interface, and that has continued with this camera. Now, if you look at the bottom of the camera, under the battery door, we have the very familiar, nice and juicy battery. It's the BLK22 battery. We see it in a lot of other Panasonic cameras. Nice to see that cross compatibility, and this promises to have better battery life, as well as USB-C charging. Definitely like that. That is always a must. And then a singular UHS 2 compatible SD card slot on the bottom of the camera where the battery door is. Now, if we look at the ports of the camera, we have the USB-C port, as I mentioned, as well as a micro HDMI port. And then on the other side, we have a microphone jack. What we don't have is a headphone jack. And this is the weirdest thing on this camera. I thought for sure it would have it, but they've taken a few other things out too. There's no cooling fan, and there is no shutter mechanism. So this is an electronic shutter only camera. But what I really wanted to focus on here is looking at the design of this camera. What are some of the indicators of what this is for? I definitely think it's a content creator tool, something for video. And we're gonna get into some of the technology and specs that Panasonic has put into this to make it a compelling video tool.
As Evelyn mentioned, this is a very content creator specific kind of camera. However, Panasonic has certainly done a good job when it comes to these stills out of it. It is a 24 megapixel full frame sensor. It's the same sensor found on the S5 too, so we're able to get some very good image quality out of it. If that's not enough resolution for you, you do have the ability to go up to 96 megapixels thanks to its handheld high-res mode. Now it's able to do this because it does have 6.5 stops, 5-axis dual IS stabilization, which is giving us the ability to get really good handheld video as well as practical stills. Now you don't look at this as a sports shooting camera because it does have a viewfinder, so I'm going to be shooting from arm's length. However, can shoot at the 30 frames per second and includes a pre-burst function if you're trying to capture that very fleeting moment. So the image quality is very good out of this 24 megapixel sensor. And something I think is a very trick feature for this specific camera is the ability to apply LUTs to your video, but you can also apply those same LUTs to your stills. So if you're a content creator traveling around and you want your photos to match your video, you can do that with this camera very easily. Now Panasonic created a very content creator kind of purpose-built package for this camera, but they certainly included a ton of photographic features.
I'm super excited to talk about the video capabilities of this camera, and probably the most noteworthy feature is actually a new open gate feature that gives you a light 4K file. And this is really useful because you're able to shoot up to 15-minute clips on your camera in this open gate light format and quickly transfer it to your smartphone. So this pairing actually gives you a super slick workflow for being able to post your videos to social media. And because this open gate light is still 4K footage, it's 420 10-bit in H.265 format, you're getting some really good quality video footage, but in these tiny 50 megabyte per second files. So that's like super tiny. It's 41% smaller of a file size, making it really quick and easy to transfer it to your phone phone through Panasonic's new app. If you're not familiar with what OpenGate is, basically it's a flexible format that allows you to do all kinds of different ratios with the same footage. So you're able to do the 9:16 for doing stories, Instagram Reels, TikTok, or if you're doing commercial videos and you want a 1:1 ratio, or you want like the standard YouTube 16:9, it gives you all of that option and flexibility. Now the app has some other capabilities like being able to transfer LUTs, do some micro adjustments to LUTs, and being able to put your own flavor directly into your videos while you're shooting them. So you're getting that like real-time LUT experience. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's basically like your built-in color grading, giving you that profile and that look that you want. And that can also transfer over to your images like Dave was saying, but I think that's pretty slick. And then of course you can't get over how good Panasonic's in-body image stabilization is. And having it all in this sleek package with a dedicated record button and a more compact body, making it really perfect for being able to mount onto gimbals and things like that. I think that this is a very capable video package. And I haven't even gone to, you still have a lot of the same video formats that we saw in the S5 II. You can actually record in 6K 422 10-bit, and then you can also do the 4K 420 10-bit without the crop. You want the full sensor readout. But again, having that open gate feature for all of your video settings is really nice. Couple things though that I think are a little bit interesting. So I mentioned before when you're getting into the design of the camera that there's no audio monitoring. We also noticed that the shoe on the top of the camera is a cold shoe, not a hot shoe. So we had our beloved XLR adapter. You can't actually use this with this camera, but I will say there are some microphone options that do have headphone monitoring built in, so you can at least see what the audio is coming in if it's going to the actual receiver. But keep in mind that you will still want to play back your audio sometimes to make sure that you got everything in camera, you don't have a loose connection, something like that.
Now in previous Panasonic reviews, I've said they're not the sexiest cameras out there, and I have to still agree. This is not the sexiest looking camera, although Panasonic is stepping up their game by giving us multiple colors to choose from. Evelyn has the black one, this is the blue and the red one, of course. So it's kind of nice to have that.
All right, Dave, something we used to pick on Panasonic a lot was autofocus performance. How are you finding it for photo?
So just like I was quite impressed with what the S5 II was able to do, they've done the same autofocus system in this camera here. So there's no surprises, but it's a very solid performer.
Yeah, it's fully loaded for both photo and video. In terms of autofocus performance, it's the best technology that Panasonic has to offer. And so we're pleasantly surprised that that's included in the camera and seems to be performing really well. You don't get that wobble that we used to see in old Panasonic cameras. It's a lot more smooth, it's better for video, and we're really happy with it overall.
All right, Evelyn, where do you see this sort of camera positioning itself in the market? I mean, we have a very compact, full-frame content creators sort of dream camera. Could it be?
It could be. I mean, it's kind of unique for Panasonic, especially to have something that is this sleek and pared down that we talked about, but still have like a full frame sensor and a lot of fully loaded features. Now, I think that there's a place in the market for these content creators that are moving from smartphones. They want to get the full frame look. They want to be able to play with interchangeable lenses, have a nice stable platform to work with in-body image stabilization. And this checks a lot of those boxes. Are there some omissions that us personally, we feel like we're missing? I mean, no electronic viewfinder, no headphone jack for monitoring audio. There's definitely some things that we want as YouTube content creators, but I don't think this is made for us. This is made for someone else. We really got to put our feet in someone else's shoes.
And I mean, the integration of the app and how important it is for Panasonic to make that part of it as an integral part of this whole camera is very cool, and to be able to put LUTs on and with both stills and in video. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the market plays out and how they accept this camera, and if that clientele finds that might be the perfect camera for their needs.
Absolutely. And I think that there's going to be a lot of people out there that want to have that like open gate workflow, a lot of flexibility, whether there's someone that's like a marketer or they just do content creation for themselves personally. I think that this has some really cool potential, and this Panasonic app I think is really going to help seal the deal and kind of put people on a different path with how their workflow is actually functioning. But of course, we want to know, what do you guys think about this? I know there's a lot of more like photo-centric people that tend to watch our channel. I want to know, what are your thoughts on this Panasonic S9?
And what do you think is the biggest omission of this camera? Something that you can't live without and is a bit of a deal breaker for you. Make sure you follow us on Instagram.
And if you're new to our channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It's been Dave and Evelyn from the Camera Store. We'll catch you again very soon.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. If you want to check out more of our recent content, click up here. And if you're a Canadian and you want to support local, check out thecamerastore.com down here.